Call the Metropolis City Council to order Monday, February the 11th, 2013. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Corzine.
Present.
Daughtery.
Here.
McManus. Midnight.
Here.
And Mizell.
Here.
Thank you.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight thanking you for the many blessings that you have given each and every one here. We pray that you will be with the ones in our community, dear Heavenly Father, that have lost loved ones this week, dear Heavenly Father. Not only be with them, but be with the ones that have sick, dear Heavenly Father. Not only be with the sick, but be with the caregivers. Be with our country, dear Heavenly Father, as we go through the trying times, not only here in the United States, dear Heavenly Father, but on foreign grounds. Be with this council as we make necessary decisions here tonight, that each and every decision will be made for the betterment of the community. Be with our armed service personnel, dear Heavenly Father, not only on foreign grounds, but here in the United States. Guide and direct their lives and bring them safely home to their families. I ask in thy precious name. Amen. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the 1/28/13 meeting.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Corzine, second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Citizens request. Mayor's report. Only thing that I actually have that is each and every one of you had in your packet. There was a memo in there and about the earthquake drills. It's Keith, would you like to speak to a little bit of that at the podium?
Sure, wasn't really prepared, but I try and answer any kind of questions that you guys have. April 9th, we have earthquake drills scheduled. Supposed to have the Coast Guard's going to participate. Right now, Harris said they would participate. Honeywell's going to participate. And there was some federal money that came available through the Illinois Terrorism Task Force. Mississippi received some of the money. Illinois received some of it. What had happened was the communications group had went from Illinois to Mississippi. They did an exercise down there with the guys from Mississippi, and April 9th, that group's going to come up here. And what it's going to be, it'll be a full-scale exercise, boots on the ground. It'll give us an opportunity to exercise our emergency operations plan, just kind of put everything together, all the departments working together, just to evaluate the program. And it will be considered one of our required exercises to maintain accreditation with the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. So,
Is this gonna be just one area or will be different areas?
well, we actually will, kind of what the plan is, and we're still in the process of developing the scenario. But all of the departments in the city are going to participate. I've got a letter from the hospital where they're going to participate, and I think the county's indicated that they want to have a role. So we're just going to roll the thing up, put it together, and just test the plan.
Be headquartered at the fire department or?
Our EOC will be at the firehouse, yes.
How about the school systems? Are they on board with this yet, or do we know?
Well, no, I haven't really talked to, we've had meetings with the school system, but nothing as far as this earthquake.
They actually had a little drill last week at the the school systems about the shelter-in-place things.
Yes, okay, that was the Great American Shakeout.
Yeah.
And yes, the schools participated, and we did observe the elementary school. Went around to the to the different classrooms out there and just watched them. I think it was 10:15, they simulated an earthquake, and the kids dropped, covered, held on underneath their desk. So we did observe that.
Will Honeywell be exercising this also, Keith?
Honeywell said that they would participate. We don't know the level of their participation yet. And I understand there's, we don't want a bunch of people with full body armor running around in front of the plant, giving people the wrong idea. So we'll have to get, you know, we're gonna have to work with the media to make the public aware of it, and we'll come up with a scenario that suits them and their needs. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to be, I'm gonna pass around a sheet that I would ask that each and every alderman would sign. It's actually a proclamation of recognition for our local Kiwanis Club that will be having a anniversary in January. Well, actually, it's going to be in February, but where it was founded in January the 26th in 1938. And I guarantee you there's, I didn't write this, there's way too many whereases and stuff in this, so you know who wrote this. If you would, just sign your name. We will copy this and actually are going to put it on some parchment paper, and we'll present that to the Kiwanis Club at one of their meetings, and we will publish that in the paper. Other than that, as that goes around, get it back up here and we'll go from there. And I think that the only other things is just regular things. We actually, I think that's the only thing that we have pressing under the mayor's report. Mr. Corporate Counsel, do you have anything?
Just a couple things. I'm gonna pass out for y'all. We had the mayor and Chad and myself had a teleconference last week on our TIFs and business district projects that are out by the interstate, and spent some time working on, the next step is what they call the TIF plan, the writing and development of the TIF plan, which says what you're gonna do in the TIF or expect to do over the next 23 years. Same way with the business district. And so we had a conference with our consultants and discussed that, and I asked them to give us an updated schedule of the activities we need to take place in order to complete the TIFs in the business district, and when they'll take place. So they put together a timeline for us, and somebody must spell your name?
Well, they put their name on my line.
Before we're done, I'll go print another one.
Yeah.
I'll just go print another one.
It's on your
Okay.
computer.
It's on my, yeah, Kim's, I can get to Kim's.
So now we know who wrote it.
So,
We can correct that.
yeah, Mr. Carter, if you pass those down, that's the time frame for completing the TIF in the business district and the activities we still have to do. I think they'll be back probably by, early March. I'll probably make some extras. Yeah, I'll put one there. And to bring back the TIF plan to one of our council meetings, and proposed plan and the proposed business district plan to go over. Normally in the past, when we've done that, we've had them come early, maybe have a committee meeting ahead of time to go over those things, and then do a public presentation at the city council meeting. That'd be likely the next step, if you will. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, we just learned last week, the county assessor or supervisor of assessment has asked the county board to consider increasing the charges for recording documents again. Last year, they increased that cost by $20. He's asked that they increase it another 20. That would take it up to $75 for like recording a deed, or in our case, it's usually an abatement lien or a lien release, because most of the time when we record a lien, somebody pays it off eventually, and then we have to collect the money to get it released. You know, I understand, and we do understand the financial circumstances the county has been in, but of that $20, as well as the previous 20, none of it went to the general fund. It's all going to the supervisor of assessment's office. So it's not benefiting the sheriff's department, or the county clerk's office, or the state attorney's office, or the treasurer's office, or any of the other operations of the county. He's seeking it strictly for his office. I know that a number of attorneys are writing letters in opposition to that to the county board, and I just want to advise you, it's my intention to likewise send a letter to the county board, started today, expressing the city's opposition to increasing that fee. That's a fee that is counterproductive in my estimation. I mean, you get the fees higher and higher, and it falls on the backs of your consumers ultimately. It's not the, that's who has to pay for it. It is with abatements, okay? And we do deeds, and we do other things from time to time as well. I suspect we do 100+ recordings a year. Most of the law offices that are involved in real estate do anywhere from 200 to 500 closings a year. So you're talking about a substantial sum of money when you had $20 to each one of those. And that's in their cases, most closings involve multiple documents, because there's usually a deed, there's possibly a release, there's a mortgage. Then you top that with foreclosures and those everything has a recording to it. When we do a demolition, there are several recordings involved in a demolition. So we may have 100 transactions in a year, but that may involve 200 separate recordings. And so, I understand when maybe they need to consider fees if it would potentially benefit the whole county, but simply for that one office seems a little bit excessive and unreasonable.
Well, Mr. Abel, is this for all recordings for everybody?
All recordings, yes,
all
sir.
over?
Yes, all recordings.
Countywide.
Well, and every document that affects real estate gets recorded. Just to.
Not only the city, but the county too.
Yeah. Every document inside every piece of property in the city, outside the city, whatever, if there's something affecting that, it gets recorded. We record, for example, even our, we file, but we also record every time we've done a new plat, we record it. Every time we've had 2 or 3 of those in the last few months. Every time we've made an agreement respecting property. If we wanted to bind the property, we've gone out and recorded that agreement. We file our, and of course we file our taxes and stuff, but they usually don't charge us for strict filings. But annexations, we do that too.
So this is just for this office?
That's what I'm advised by the folks at the county, that this is just for this office, is all of us.
About UCC agreements, like when we take that on.
UCCs are now filed with Secretary of State only. They're no longer filed in the county. That's been the law for about 10 years now. Just anything that affects real estate, you can just pretty well figure it's gotta be recorded pretty much. I don't know if it'll have an effect or not, but like I say, I think most of the attorneys, most of the banks and all are going to register opposition to it, because the individual really wouldn't know until it hit them at the time of the closing, so. Anyway, just wanted to give you an update. And if you hear that we wrote something that was in opposition to a fee, now you know what it is. That's all I have.
Committee reports. Water, Light, and Street Committee, Mr. Barfield, if I can, and I should have said something probably during my report, and I didn't, and I apologize for that. But before we get into on this, on some of these, actually motions and things like that, all these have gone through a committee. And I know there's concern every once in a while, not always, but occasionally about quotes, bids, and things of that nature. And truly I understand that, and I appreciate that, you know, but some of these things are kind of ongoing projects that this individual or that individual has started, is familiar, not making excuses for it, but that's just, I mean, that's what it is and how it is. And many of these are specialized circumstances. In other words, just for instance, off of one of JK's on the MIOX, there's only one specialized company that takes care of the equipment that JK's got in that thing, and you know, that was the one on there that was actually 21, I believe it was altogether $21,000. That was in there on the replacement pumps, the 26302. And well, 26, yeah,
Those two are Frank's.
yeah, those are Frank's, but JK's got one that's,
Minox is 3750.
Yeah. that is actually a specialty type thing. It's the only company that actually provides that service. They have to be brought in from out of state. So things of that nature, but I do agree. So some of those have, we don't go out for bids on the smaller things because, you know, somebody has to get the bid specs and stuff like that. If it's things we've done before, you'll have one or two or three companies at the most that provides those services. So, and I guess it's in the eyes of the holder, you know, whether it be quoted or bid, but, you know, it does take extra time and everything like that. So I wanted to explain that just a little bit before we get into this. There we are.
Very good, Mayor, thank you very much.
Just one question, Mayor. Say for instance, we did have something, or any of this that you know is coming up. Do you, as far as something has to be done relatively quick, do you just call or get some quotes, or do
Okay.
you just call for, or do we circulate it to everybody, or how is it?
Okay, if it's strictly an emergency situation, I mean, I guess
Oh, I
if it's
understand that,
bad
yeah,
enough,
yeah.
I just do it.
Yeah, I
And then
understand that.
take punishment afterwards, I guess, but if we have a few days or something like that, and we know that Harry, has to have this or that or something else, something's broke down, I actually, in the authority of the mayor, I have what I call an expenditure. But in order to use that expenditure, anything over $1,500, I have to call 4 older persons and get their approval. I initial it, put it in the packet. At the next meeting, we will do that, and each alderman that has given me the authority signs their name to it. We file that with Linda, keep a record of it, that it was approved by the city council. Now, if it's, most of the time, someplace down the line, we will bring that back when the bill comes in to ratify that there, even though we have an expenditure, we go ahead and do that. If it's a specialty type thing, of some kind of electrical thing, and say, let's just say for instance, Mr. Reed has been working on a circuit board or something like that at the sewer disposal plant. Something breaks, bends, or tear, he's familiar with it. Frank's liable to call Mr. Reed or Mr. Russell or whomever it is and go ahead and do that. Now, anything over $10,000 certainly needs to be bid, and most big items like that are, someone has to make those bid sheets up, has to be published and things like that. Or sometimes just the necessity of getting it done immediately bypasses that, and we all know, I mean, Harry knows, Keith knows, Jason knows, and the people that we buy from, and It's, they'll call and get 3 or 4 quotes. If it's a specific item, most of the time there's a limited amount of people that actually supply that. So it's pretty easy to get competitive quotes from everyone. I think we all ought to be aware of, especially on emailed, faxed items and stuff like that. And Daniil stays on me all the time about it. And some other ladies in the city government stay on me. Not to make comments, written statements on an invoice of any kind. If you want to put something on there, put a sticky tab on it to make sure that comments are strictly business-wise. For instance, many of the people that we do business with, we've done business with for many, many, many years. You get a personal relationship with them. They know our needs. They're friends. They come to Metropolis quite often on an invoice that is maybe a low quote or a low bid. We should always be considerate of something casual on the bottom of that email that says, "See you when we come to town, maybe we can have lunch." That doesn't need to be on that invoice. You know, we just need to be conscious of how we handle things and the way it is, and I don't think we've got a problem with any of that, but we do need to be conscious of what we write on our invoices and stuff like that.
Okay, very good. I'm glad you cleared it up there. Thank you.
Mr. Barfield, I apologize for taking your time.
Where were we, Mayor?
At the top.
I think he was in the sewer part.
I think I know, I think I can find it.
I'm sorry.
Hey, thank you for the info, no, really thank you. But the Water Light Street Committee did meet last Tuesday, and we had, probably quite an agenda, and we got quite a bit accomplished. And out of that, we have 10 items to bring for the full council, and I will make the motions on the following. I will make a motion to accept the purchase of 2 desktop computers as quoted from Kimber Technology Consulting in an amount of $1,822.42 for the water filtration plant.
Second. You gonna give that to Mr. Carroll? Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. Carroll. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make the motion to accept authorizing Mike's technician to repair Unit 3 on site in the approximate amount of $3,750.
Second.
I believe this will also be divided up on travel time for Manna.
And Jonesboro.
Yes, and
Yes, that was explained to us.
which that saves us a considerable amount of money.
Yes.
So he's got work to do for them as well, so.
Yes.
Yes.
So we got that done at the same time where we could cut that travel expense down to half. Other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make the motion to accept the trail pump listed in the Weir Specialty Pumps Wimco Pump Trial Purchase Agreement in the amount of $26,302. It's to replace the influent pump number 4 in this year's budget.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. Mizell, and I do, Frank said to, send his apologies. He was going to be here tonight, and I asked him not to be here tonight. He is quite sick, and he was out of, he's in the hospital all last week, I think got out Friday. He came in this morning to sign his bills, and he is as weak as a cat, and just about has no color whatsoever, and was feeling very, very, very badly.
Can't hardly walk.
We sent him home, told him to stay home till he got to feel a little bit better. They do have qualified personnel down there to run the plant while he's
Very
gone,
good.
so that's where he's at. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight,
Yes.
and Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept the purchase of an additional 3 pumps from Weir Specialty Pumps for the amount of $26,302, each for the total amount of $78,906. Replacements for influent pumps 1, 2, and 3 as listed in this year's budget.
Motion made, second by Mr. Mizell. Discussion.
So you're saying we have over $100,000 in the budget to replace these 4 pumps this year?
Yes. They actually sent, Mr. Resign, one of those pumps on a trial basis, and we tried it for
6
6
months.
months, something like that, to make sure that this was going to take care of a problem. This 100 and, ever what it is, if it does work the way that they say it's going to work, it's going to save us about $400,000 in our wastewater treatment plant by not having to do some extra work to get that pumps to where it should be to meet EPA standards.
I apologize, man, to ask all these
No,
questions.
that's-
I didn't get to make the
That's
meeting.
okay,
My
Richard,
daughter
that's
was
what
on
this is
the flu,
for,
so-
no problem, really, we need to do that.
We might add, Mayor, that these new pumps are going to be pumping about 4 times what the old pumps are pumping.
Yeah. Oh,
So that's where we're gonna save our money.
Instead of them all, the way it was, every pump we had down there was pumping overtime. And this, we're able to, we don't have to utilize all 4 pumps, but
Those pumps are quite old, aren't they? One
the
out
old one,
Yes.
well, until we got to these pumps, if these pumps work the way they have so far, there's not such a thing as an old pump down there. We replace them quite often, but so far, these pumps have held up to the test. So we'll save a tremendous amount of money, in these pumps not wearing out. So we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight,
Yes.
and Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept the purchase of 3 6-inch check valves from fluid pumps 1, 2, and 3 for a total of $4,800. It's also in this year's budget.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. Mizell.
I'm gonna need one for number 4.
No, they put one on when they put it in for the trial.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
so it'll be 6 months, or, well, it's more longer than that now probably, but call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight,
Yes.
and Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept the removal of old influent pumps 1, 2, and 3, and the installation of the new influent pumps 1, 2, and 3, and check valves from Parker Machine Shops for $4,000 each, totaling $12,000 as listed in this year's budget.
Second.
And I will, address that. At the time we, put the one pump in, we actually did go out for, quotes of, putting these in, and Mr. Parker was the only one that bid that. And he is right here local, so.
On those, pumps that we're, purchasing, when will they be in, or are there, is it gonna be a,
I don't
Time
think,
frame?
I don't think it's a long time, David, or Mr. Daughtery, but, I don't know.
it's gonna be, okay.
I don't know whether that's a 30-day turnaround. I wouldn't think it would be very long.
It was quick on the last one.
I don't think it will be very long. I think it would be, you know, when they get the order, I think they'll be in. Okay, we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight,
Yes.
and Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept the estimate from Russell Electric for $7,500 for the installation of 1-inch conduit from the main control panel upstairs to the 4 pumps and pit. Pull 4 number 14 AWG wire to each pumps from control panel upstairs. Conduit and pit will be rigid. This is also this year's budget.
Second.
And I believe this is an ongoing project that Mr. Russell completed a while back, and it may have been 3 months ago, and it could have been 6 months, could have been 9 months. If you remember the issue, I think this is right, and I did not call Frank to find out. When we had the issues down there, when we did the underground year or two ago, year and a half ago, when we put new conduit and everything, we were going to have to think, we had some main breakers and everything in the switching panels that were obsolete. We checked with 2 or 3 other electricians, could not get anything that was compatible. Mr. Russell, I think, got online, found some things that were compatible, rewired this and rewired that. So I think this is one of the same issues. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept approving the engineering fees for stage 2 DBPR compliance monitoring plan not to exceed $1,500.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. Mizell. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Barfield, Mr. Walsh asked that the next item be tabled. He did not, by him being out and stuff like that, I don't think he's had contact with the proper people and things like that, so he asked that that be tabled till the next meeting, we'll bring it back up again. It's
Very
not
good.
urgent, so that way he can explain his own dealings,
Very good, thank you.
okay?
And this next item was not, it was discussed, but it was on the agenda. But Keith, Mr. Keith Stokes, he explained this and put it in detail. And this is, I will make a motion to accept the field service quotation from Solomon Corporation in the amount of $21,010. This is on the 12 kV on the east substation. I think it has 250 gallon oil in it. They gotta change that, replace it. They come back in, and we also have either, I believe, 3 vacuum tubes, they call it. We know one's bad, and it will work during weather like we're having now. When it hits hot weather, it will not hold up. And they're coming in from Kansas City. This is why the big increase in the setup situation.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. Carroll. Mr. Stokes, you have anything to add to that?
You pretty well covered it, Mayor. We just need to get this one fixed because at the east sub, we've got 3 transformers, and right now I've got the big 12 kV down. And I could feed it from the south sub, but I'd rather not do that, not take a chance on having Paris go down. So, but we do need to try to get this addressed. What it is, vacuum bottles, it's a low tap changer, and the vacuum bottles keep it from arcing when it changes taps. And we know we've got one vacuum bottle bad, so what they'll do is just replace all 3 of them while they've got it open and clean everything up and put it back together. And last oil sample we pulled on this LTC did show a settling, so that's showing that there is some arc going on. That vacuum bottle was going bad, and now it has completely went out. And so they will bring 250 gallons of clean oil and replace the oil, and it'll be like brand new when they get done.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, that completes our report. Does someone else have anything to add to this?
I'd like to add something. I know Frank's not here, Mr. Walsh, but since he's been doing his job here, he's did an outstanding job. Or made big improvements down there at that wastewater. And, he's made excellent, and he's always on target of everything that he does. And also, we got the chief back here, police, and also the fire. And if y'all read the things that he sends out weekly, I appreciate that. Thank you for it.
Before we get, have we had a report on our outages and things since, okay. We actually talked just a little bit about it at a committee meeting, for for y'all that wasn't, that had to work, that was not at those committee meetings. An upgrade of that, during the last windstorm, Mr. Davis was on site, Mr. Massey was on site, Mr. Morris was on site, our city lighting crew, and at least one or two of our, street department was called out at approximately 10:30 to 11 o'clock the first night. The street department, cleaned a mess up with a tree and stuff like that, and was fortunate enough they got to go home and go to bed. Our light department was out from 11 o'clock that night till approximately 11 o'clock the following night. 24 hours of service. Actually, we had a major outage off of 10th Street there at Speckman by Rube's. Tree tore down the line, actually pulled down a pole with 3 transformers on it. The men jumped on that immediately. Just think about it now. We have 4 linemen and a supervisor and the lead man, with Mr. Stokes. They completed all this, by dinner the next day?
Yeah, right at it, sir.
Okay, that was putting the lines back up, getting the old pole down, getting the transformers off, of course it ruined the transformers, putting new transformers back up, and got everything under control and going. That line actually goes all the way through Lindsay Addition and all out that way. Which I thought was an outstanding job for no more men than what we had. They worked hard, did a good job. Everything seemed like it was going very well. Then about 3:30 in the afternoon, we started having problems out around Bullock, Kennedy Drive. That whole circuit went down. Keith and them found a problem on Bullock where a tree had torn down a line. Felt very good about that. They was really kind of pumping their chest a little bit. You know, they had that under control and stuff like that. But every time they'd kick it in, he'd kick back out. This is why it's so important for the money that we've spent in the city of Metropolis in the last several years for these upgrades. They started isolating that line and moving to the east. It wasn't very long after that, by 6 o'clock, they had everything up 2 cheers. Still again, every time they'd kick it in, he'd kick out. So they just continually worked their way towards the industrial park. Lo and behold, the very last transformer we had, which was a 25 kV transformer that doesn't do anything except run the billboard out in the middle of our industrial park. That's where the problem was at. Broken cross arm out there. And so then they isolated that. The billboard didn't work for a couple of days or anything like that, but you know, they done another outstanding job of getting everybody's power up and everything like that. The guys did really, really good. And then coming back to the men, as you remember, not very long ago, we sent Alex and Michael to school, and their little part of their little rodeo thing was pole climbing. Too wet out in the middle of the field to get trucks and stuff out there, so Mr. Gentry got to climb the pole and fix the cross arm and stuff like that. So then again, you know, that's what we train these guys for and stuff like that, and they went way beyond, you know, and other than being very tired and stuff like that, there wasn't any grumbling or anything like that. Now, Michael did tell me Stoney got a little grumpy. But he's older, you know, he's older than the rest of them. So it went very well. And that's the reason that, you know, we try to educate these, young people and stuff like that and give them the best training that we can get. And it pays off and it shows. You know, they had a good time. I actually went out and spent a little time in the field with them out, when they was changing the transformers. Then again, it's important that Keith and these guys and Chad and them stay on these PCBs to get these transformers right, because we lost the transformers. They hit the ground, they're oil filled, so we have no contamination and stuff like that, which saves a lot of money. Because then when you get one like that, you gotta isolate it, you keep it confined and stuff like that, and then you gotta go to the trouble of getting rid of it. So we're up in compliance on all that stuff, and I just wanted to take the time, you know, to thank the men. Police department was out, fire department was out, Keith was out, he is setting off sirens and doing what he does best. Everything went well, and we didn't have many problems.
I would like to say thank you to the electrical department too, for their due
Double.
diligence
Yeah,
and
I
their
agree.
safety. That's a big part of it. Thank you, Keith.
Very good.
Yeah, the rest of the story is too, not only did they start at 11, but they got off work, they done work their 8 hours that day, then they started in and worked another 24 straight.
Yeah.
Went home and got about 8 hours sleep and come back to work and put in another day.
That says a lot, Richard.
Well, we was real good to them when they went home at 11 o'clock. We actually let them stay in till 9 o'clock the next morning.
That shows dedication. Well, I tell you, I run up on 2 of them out there working on the line, you're talking about out by Rubes, and I would ask them if they need anything, and they were both, you know, it's cold out there, so I went and got them both a cup of coffee, and they were very appreciative, and I remember Alex saying, I think I can go a little bit longer now,
There
so.
you go.
They done very well. I mean, we're proud of it.
It's hard work. It really is.
Dangerous.
All right.
Very dangerous.
Anybody else have anything they wanna say? Mr. Carroll, police and
Thank you,
fire.
Mayor, I was listening to comments on our schooling, and we've got some good employees that's willing to go to school and learn, and we gotta appreciate that. And I'm about to make another motion for another employee to attend school. On February the 5th, the Fire and Police Commission recommended a motion to send Captain Chad Parker to school. This is an NPPA life-saving safety code. It's a 5-day seminar with exam and certificate at the end of the school. Chief Morris explained why the delay of Captain Parker's schooling. It was due to overtime correction, and he did a real good job. He saved us some money. So that is my motion. We send Captain Parker to this school.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Carroll and a second by Mr. Barfield. Send Mr. Parker to training. Call the roll.
NEPA life safety.
Yes, sir.
Which option are we gonna go with, so we got a dollar amount?
I don't think he'll know until he looks at the schedule. Of
Yeah,
what the overtime.
I put both of them on there because it depends on when I can get him into the class, how his schedule falls.
We could put on there not to exceed $3,009 or $4,000.
I mean, if
The
it's,
schooling is $2,785. That's the schooling plus his wages.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Carroll, would it be appropriate to put on there, not to exceed $4,000?
Yes.
All right. If you would just pencil that in on yours. Is that acceptable, Chief?
No.
That's all right?
yeah,
Okay.
It's under 4,000.
Call the roll, please. He wasn't paying attention.
Barfield.
Yes?
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all I have under fire and police.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Next item, Park and Recreation, Mr. Carroll.
Yes. Again, we, at the same meeting, on February the 5th, the Park and Recreation Committee recommended the following: a motion to accept fencing for the soccer complex not to exceed $5,000. That fencing will be a 385 feet area in front of the concession stand from one end to the other, with 3 openings And, the cost of that fencing is $4,389.34 for galvanized fencing.
Who's putting it up?
Jones.
Jones Fencing out of Paducah, they put the other fencing up.
Mr. Carroll, do you want that listed as the total amount there?
Yes, I think you can list that as the total amount. That was what they give me this morning.
That was 3,000.
$4,389.34.
All right. That is the motion then. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have one other thing. A motion to accept placing announcement board on concession building of sports park, baseball and softball field, purchased by the MCYSA, that's Massac County Youth Sports Association. They are purchasing the sign and they want to hang it on the concession building for events as they come up.
Motion made by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Corzine. Any other discussion?
The only thing I'd say about that, make sure that Chris approves the location they're gonna put that before they put it up.
They already have gone out
Have
and
they?
looked at it, yes. And the reason we're actually putting, one fence cut in front of the concession stand, that if we ever choose to, we can actually put a walkway up to get around the building to keep the people from walking everywhere out there on the grass. We're going to put another, cut between the concession stand and the first little field going north, where we eventually, may not do it right away, where we can have a walk going down to the first large field, plus get them off on the little field. There will be another cut halfway in between the small field before you get to the storage place where people can get in through there. Trying to plan this to where that, it will get the people in and off the field and minimize what they're gonna be walking on the grass.
That field is 200 feet long and the third cut will be in the center,
Yes.
100 feet from the end.
So we do have a motion, and we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Mayor, that concludes my reports.
All right, under a little bit of park and rec, Mr. Carroll and I did talk again today, and Chris, as of last week through the storm, we didn't know exactly that we had any damage in the city, other than, as many of you know, it wasn't caused by the storm. Somebody set the dugout at the American Legion ball field on fire, burnt the top off of it. So that's going to have to be fixed, and we will fix that before too long, but we're trying to take them in order. We did have some damage on the roof of the Girl Scout house. It has been temporarily fixed. I've actually borrowed Mr. Balderas from Mr. Walsh's department. He will be working at the Girl Scout house, doing some bending and soffit work and stuff like that on the outside of the building with the metal. And then we have one board on the inside is going to have a little cosmetic done that, but we was fortunate that we didn't have any large damage. We had some damage, but nothing that we can't fix. So he'll be redoing some of that work. Any other thing under the committees? Department heads, Mr. Stokes,
No, sir.
Mr. Morris,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Massey.
Just one thing.
Jason had to talk, I figured I could.
Yeah, glad Keith did too.
Oh, yeah, keep that.
Yeah.
My turn. This weekend, we're doing, some training with the state police and
Brookport and Joppa Police were invited also, so when you see a bunch of police cars at the high school, we're doing some rapid deployment active shooter training at the high school itself, so that our officers can learn the hallways and the different corners and how the classrooms operate and stuff, so it'll be hands-on training. Keith is filling the paperwork out for, to make it one of our drills, and state police are using it for their quarterly training that they have to do in rapid deployment training also, so it's sort of work out. I don't know if Brookport and Joppa are gonna play or not, but they've been invited to, so, and the sheriff's department will be out there.
Will this be on the weekend or?
Yeah, Saturday it's gonna be from 8 to 4, so we get our day shift, or our evening shift and part of our midnight shift. And then Sunday, it's gonna be from 5 to probably 10 PM, so we can get the other shift, and then we can get the whole department done. Everyone except Cook, cause he's gonna be on his honeymoon.
Yeah.
Trying to talk him out of it.
Can't talk him out of that, kid.
If you run into a hostage situation and stuff right there, here's your man.
To be the hostage or what? Substitute for the hostage, yeah. You want the cops to save an attorney?
Yeah, we want you to train him for the
That's
hospital.
not gonna be good. Rick, it's been nice knowing you.
Yeah, no, yeah.
All right, and, you know, with, again, we don't wanna give these guys a big head or anything like that, but that goes again, what we pay our personnel and stuff to do with what goes on all over the country. We certainly don't want anything to ever happen here that we're not as prepared for as we can get prepared for. Some things you just don't get prepared for ever, I don't think. But anyway, you know, I commend the police department, fire department, and emergency service people for doing what we pay them to do.
But he said one thing,
Okay.
different than what Keith said. Keith said exercise, he said play.
Cause he really likes it.
Well,
I enjoy my job.
Okay.
you all like it pretty good.
One last thing. I just, February 16th, this coming Saturday, we're gonna host, Red Cross is going to sponsor a, shelter operations class, Introduction to Disaster. The First Baptist Church recently submitted an application and it's been approved, by the Red Cross as a shelter. I think the Methodist Church is interested in becoming a shelter. And what this class will do that the city is sponsoring, it'll allow the workers to actually get the Red Cross training in order to be an approved shelter as a feeding station. So,
What time is that, Keith?
it starts at 8 o'clock. It's 2 4-hour classes, but we'll probably work through lunch, get out a little bit early.
Okay.
Thank you.
Old business. New business.
I have one item, Mayor. The Metropolis Area Tourism Commission will meet tomorrow here in the chambers at 11 o'clock.
Okay. Miscellaneous reports. Under that miscellaneous report, I will say that we are actually, Chad, Tricia, I hope myself, and possibly Mr. Abel, if we can clear a schedule. Friday afternoon, they're going to meet with the IEMA people at Harrisburg at 10 o'clock to go over the flood paperwork things, to make sure that everything is where it is and supposed to be. Paul Osmond, which is kind of over the floodplain issues, is actually going to be in Harrisburg, and he has invited us up to sit down and talk about any issues that we have in the final paperwork on the state side, and hopefully that's going to be forwarded and expedited through the federal part of that. And I know these people that are involved in this flood thing has been a long, drawn-out affair for them, and I'm sure they're anxious to get this behind them. So we will be, if nothing happens, well, I know Tricia and Chad's going for sure, and I certainly want to go, and Mr. April certainly wants to go. So the items that we, mentioned in the committee meetings and stuff like that, the proposals have been made. We have not got anything back about the, building, so, we haven't got any confirmation back from that, so, hopefully, we will know something on that very shortly. Financial report, payment of salaries, payroll, and contract bills.
I'll make a motion there.
Motion by Mr. Corzine. Second by Mr. Mizell. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Payment of miscellaneous bills.
I'll make a motion to pay those as well.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Corzine, second by Mr. Mizell. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And Mizell.
Yes.
We have no need for an executive session. We have nothing to, since our last one, we don't have anything to report on that. We don't have any additional, make sure you get on your right names.
I didn't do it.
And, additional new business.
Don't sign it.
Ms. Brown did call me, prior to the meeting, said that she thought she was coming down with the flu. I encouraged her very strongly to take the night off, that we certainly didn't want the flu. And, she sounded, very sickly, so. City Hall will be closed on Monday, February the 18th for President's Day. And David's birthday. So, any kind of present you actually want, or just anything we throw together.
Would you like a statue? Pretty good toes all up.
I'm not gonna say I was gonna say a monument, that wouldn't sound good, so. We do need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, I can say gentlemen tonight, but the lady's not here, so. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Corzine.
You're
Daughtry.
a lady, but you don't get the vote.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
You have one
Yes.
pass
And
around.
Mizell.
Everybody have one.
Really?